Yeah, hi guys, good morning. And this will be our Docker session 2. Okay, so in yesterday's session, what we have seen the difference between virtualization and containerization, and how to pull some basic Docker images and how to start our containers, right? So in today's session, we'll talk about different Docker commands as well as persistent volumes in Docker. Okay, and what is a Docker file and how can we create Docker file from scratch. Okay, so let me share my screen. Hope my screen is visible.
Yes, bro. Yeah.
Yes, right. So we'll talk about Docker exec, then Docker volumes, Docker stats, Docker file, and multi-stage Docker files, and we'll see how can we push our images to the Docker registries and AWS ECR registry. Okay, so let me log into my Docker server. Okay, so this is my Docker server. Let me connect to this. Do you have any questions on Docker regarding yesterday's session, or we are good with yesterday's
No,
session?
bro. As of now, good. Yeah.
Okay, Docker is easy. What happened? Everyone is silent. Docker is easy or
By using
difficult?
Docker, we can
We have
easily.
to remember all the commands, right? Yeah. So that is the
See,
main complex remember.
see, we have lot of commands. I mean, in Terraform we have commands, in Git we have commands, in Ansible we have commands. Okay, so whenever, I mean, the moment you have decided to become DevOps engineer, so you need to remember all these commands. So we don't have any other
Yeah.
options.
Yeah.
Okay, sudo su hyphen. Then we are into the root user. Now let me just check if Docker is running or not. Okay, so Docker is up and running, right? So if I'll do Docker images, then we can see the list of images which are available in this machine. As of now, we don't have any machines, any images. Okay, then Docker container PS, this is used to check the running containers. These are also 0. Docker PS -a, this is used. Why do we use Docker PS -a?
We can see all the running things.
Running as well as exited containers. As of now, we don't see any exited containers as well because I have cleared all this stuff yesterday. Okay. Now, my requirement is to pull one Docker Tomcat image. Okay, Docker Tomcat image. So my requirement is to download one Tomcat image and to deploy one sample application in my Tomcat. Previously, what we used to do, if I want Tomcat, right? So I used to install Tomcat. I used to install Java. I used to download the Tomcat packages and then install that packages, right? But now we just need to go to the Docker Hub. So where is our Docker Hub registry? Tomcat. So check for the official Tomcat images. Click here Tomcat, and then go to tags. Check which tag is available. Okay, so we do have latest tag image. So what I will do, I will use Docker pull Tomcat colon latest. So what will happen? This will download the latest image of Tomcat in our machine. Yes or no?
Yes,
Right?
bro. So if you remove the column latest also, it will take the latest one only, right?
Yes, yes, yes. But
Okay.
always make sure that you are specifying the tag as well.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
if you don't pass
Yeah.
this tag, it will download the latest one. But make sure that you are passing the tags as well. Make this as a habit because we should be aware which version we are downloading. Okay. Now, if I'll do Docker images, then we can find what image is available. Okay. Now, how to create one container out of this image? How to create one
Docker
container
run
out of
image
this
ID.
image?
Docker run. Docker
Docker
container
Docker
run
container
itd
run.
tom.
container run hyphen itd. ITD
ITD
means
to run in background.
Inter
Interactive
interactive
background.
terminal
Background argument.
IT means interactive terminal.
Interact.
This will help us to get one terminal. Okay, D means background. Okay, if I not pass D, what will happen? It will run on foreground, means on the same terminal. Okay, so D will help us to run this image in the background, and then I want to expose my Tomcat on the specific port number. For example, iPhone P 8081 colon 8080. So 8081 is my host port, means I want to access my container on port number 8081 on the machine where I have installed Docker, and 8080 is the port which this image has been exposed. Okay, and then if you want to provide any name, right, for example iPhone name, then we can provide the name to the image. For example, tomcat underscore test, and then which image you want to use to run your container. So I'm using tomcat colon latest image, and if I'll hit enter, now what will happen? One container with the specific container ID. This is nothing but container ID. Okay, so docker container ps, then we can see one container ID is available. This image we have used. Okay, this command is being used to run my container. This has been created 10 seconds ago. The status is up and from 9 seconds, and this is the port number which has been exposed, and this is the name what I have given over here. Okay, now let me try to access this. Okay, so this is my public IP. This is exposed on port number 8081. See, we are able to see some HTTP status 404 not found. Basically, our container is up and running. The reason why we see 404 error means, what is the error code for 404 not found, right? Means there is no deployment file. Previously, whenever we used to install Tomcat manually, we used to get the Tomcat page because that page was available by default. But in these containers, that page will not be available. That's the reason we will be able to see 404 error. Okay, but still our container is up and running, and the version of Tomcat is 10.1.13. This is very easy, right, to spin up any application, either it is Tomcat, SonarCube, Jenkins, everything.
Sagar, if we
Yes.
download Tomcat 8 version, then it will come.
No, basically I don't think so. In these containers we have any deployment file, default deployment files in Tomcat. So it depends whether it has in 8 version or not. Okay, now the requirement is I want to deploy one application inside this, means I don't want to see this page, I want to access my application. Okay, so we have one container which is up and running now. Okay, this is my container. Now my requirement is I want to log in inside this container. I want to log in inside this container and deploy one sample application. I can assume as sample.y. So this is the example what we used to use, right? So I want to deploy this package. Assume that this is our package. Now I want to deploy this package inside my container. So what we can do, we need to log into this container first. Okay, so how can we log in? Docker exec is the command. Docker exec is the command which will help us to log in inside our container. This is very important. Okay, then -it is nothing but interactive terminal. No, do not use D, or else what will happen, it will execute in the background. Okay, I want to see this terminal, right? So I will be using Docker exec is the command, -it is to get the terminal, and then the container ID. So let me copy this container ID. Okay, and then we need to specify initial space /bash. Okay, so it can be either bash or it can be either bin.bash initial or bin.sh. So initial. So let me use bin.sh. So let us see what will happen. Okay, see now the moment I have executed this, here we can see something happened over here. So if I'll do pwd, currently I'm inside my container. Okay, so if I'll do ls, we can see web apps over here. So if I'll do cd web apps, Equal to LL. Do we have any files over here? PWD, no files. Okay, understood what I have did? Or else let me exit from this container. Currently I'm in my machine again, so let me execute the docker exec command. Instead of bin/sh, I can use bash as well. Okay, see, currently I'm in my container. See, this is my root user and this is my container ID. And if I'll do ls, then we can find web apps. If I'll do ll, we can see no files are available. That's the reason it is able to, I mean, there we are able to see 404 error. Now what I will do, I will use wget and download the sample application. Sorry. Copy link address and then download. Hit enter. So what happened now? We have downloaded one sample.var. If I'll do ll, okay, or else if I'll try to access this on browser, let us see what will happen. Okay, now it has been extracted. Now if I'll do refresh, sorry, it should be sample. Now you can see one sample application has been deployed in our container. Understood? So in order to log in inside the container, we should use the command docker exec. And then we can execute or we can download or we can install any files inside the container. Okay?
Yes.
Yes, bro.
Okay. Now let me exit this. Okay, I have exited my container. Still my application will be available because that has been already deployed inside my container, right? So now if you want to check the logs of my container, what we can do? If I want to see the logs of this container, for example, assume that, yeah, Docker container, for example, assume that something is wrong. I mean, here I can see the status as not running or some XYZ status here. Then I want to check the logs because logs are something which will help us to identify or understand the issue, right? That's the basic thing what we have learned. So now, sorry, now I want to check the logs of my container. So what I can do, Docker container logs and then container ID. You can see different logs. See here, if you see this deployed one sample.var. Sample.var has been finished. Okay, so this is how we can check the logs of our containers, which will help us to debug if there are any issues in our containers. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, bro.
Now the issue is, okay, let me show you something else. Okay, so we have seen Docker exe, right? Now we'll talk about Docker volumes. Okay, so before volumes, I will like to show you something. Okay, for example, Docker container. I just want to stop this container. Okay, stop and then container ID, hit enter. Now if I'll do Docker container ps, then no containers are running, right? So if I refresh this, not available because the container is not running now. Now if I'll do Docker ps-a, then we can see the container has been exited state because I have stopped my container. For example, assume that Docker container kill okay, this is already not running, right? So I cannot kill this. So I just want to remove this container. If I'll do Docker container ps-a, then 0 containers are available. I mean, even in exited state, there are no containers because I have removed my container. For example, assume that you had deployed one container, Tomcat container. For some XYZ reason, that container has been stopped and someone has deleted that container. Now, where is my deployment file? Whatever I have deployed, sample.var, where is that file available? Anyone?
Inside the Tomcat container, right?
Yes. So what will happen is this is my Tomcat container, and inside this container, what I have created sample.var, right? So once this container is killed for some reason, then we are also losing our deployment file. Now I don't want to keep the sample.file inside my container, because what will happen if suppose this container is getting stopped or killed, then we are not able to access our application, right? So what I want to do is I don't want to deploy sample.var inside my container. Okay, so this is my container again. Okay, and here I will create one volume. In this volume I will deploy my sample.var. Okay, and where is this volume available? This volume is available on the Docker engine machine or Docker host, we can say. Okay, so now what will happen is I will create my container and I will create one volume on my Docker host, means wherever we have deployed our Docker, wherever we have installed our Docker, there I will create one volume and I will create I will deploy my application inside this volume. So what will happen? So whenever this container is spinned up or created, then this container should access this volume. This is how I will map my container. Okay, for example, this container is not running for some reasons, but still we have our volume. So what I will do, I will create one more container. I will create one more container, and then this container I will map with my volume. So the latest deployment files or the files or any data which this container has been written, or the user has written some files inside the container, will be stored permanently. Okay, so even if these containers are not up and running or deleted, then still we have the access to the volumes, because volumes are created outside the container. Understood? So this kind of setup we called as host volumes. Whatever I have shown in this diagram, this kind of setup we called as host volumes, and if something is written inside this container, we called it as empty dar. Okay, this you will get lot of description in Kubernetes regarding volumes. Okay, so as of now, just remember, so we have some concept called volumes, which will help us to store persistent data, means permanently store the data on the volumes. Understood?
Okay.
Now how to create a volume? Docker volume create, or else I guess okay, let me check this command. Okay, Docker volume create and then volume name. So what volume name we should give? For example, I would like to give volume name as deployment. Okay, so now what happened? One volume has been created. Now if you want to check the list of volumes, then Docker volume ls command can be used to see the list of volumes which are available. Okay, so if you want to see the path of volume, so where this will get created, where lib docker volumes. So this will be the default path where these volumes will get created. See, deployment. Okay, cd deployment. Then here we can find some data has been written inside this file. We can see all the data is being written inside this file. Okay, so cd underscore data ln. As of now, do we have any files? No. Why? Because we haven't written anything. Okay, so where is this location? Where lib docker volume. So this will be the default location, and inside this location we can find the volume name and then underscore data is one directory where we can store our data. Okay, so what I have did, I have created one volume here. Okay, so this volume is created where? On the Docker engine or Docker host machine. Okay, now what I will do, I will download my sample.var. For example, this is my deployment file, right? So I have moved this file for in my, as of now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to just do duplicate. But for example, if you are using Jenkins, what you will do, you will try to push this volume into this, push the var package at this specific location. I have deployed one sample.var. Inside my volume we have sample.var file. Okay, now I will again try to create one container. Okay, Docker container, run. What's the command? Hyphen ITD hyphen P 8081 colon 8080. Then hyphen name. If you want to give any name, you can give, or else you can give the name for Tomcat colon latest. Okay, so this is the command which will help us to create a container in the background and expose this container on port number 8081. But I want to map to this volume, right? So I need to specify that volume as well. So what I will do, itd-p and then -v. V is nothing but volume. V specifies volume. Okay, so where is our volume? Where lib docker volume and then deployment. So this is the volume where I want to map my container. Okay, so -v is nothing but volume, and this is the location of my volume, and then colon and to which particular directory you want to map. You want to either map it to the complete container or the specific location. So I want to map it to user local tomcat slash, means whatever is available inside this deployment volume should be available inside web apps. Okay, whatever is available inside the deployment directory should be mapped with the web apps directory, because web apps is a deployment location, right? So I just want to map with the web apps. So how will you know about this location, which location is available? So you just need to go to the Tomcat image, go to overview, scroll down. Here you can see. So this is the home location what they have created. They have customized their locations. Okay, so if I'll try to scroll down, I'll be able to see something. No. Okay, tags. And if I click on latest tag, let us see the deployment location. See, user local tomcat. So I mean, previously when I have logged into the container, right, I have seen the path as well. So user local tomcat, user local tomcat. So in this location only I have seen web apps. Okay, so that's the reason I have passed this location. If you are not aware of this location, then what you can do, you just need to try to create one sample container, check the deployment location, and then map this with the newly created container. Okay, so now let me create one container out of this. Hit enter. So what happened? One container has been created. How to check? Docker container ts. We can see one container is up and running. Okay, now if I'll try to access this, see 8081, right? Refresh. Something went wrong, and this is not.
I think last time we deleted the whole container, so there is nothing in the previous.
That old container has been deleted. New container I have started again on 8081 only.
But in the part we did not put any sample file in the new container.
No, what I have did is, see, var lib docker volumes, and then deployment, and then what we have, data
hyphen data.
Yeah, so we have sample.var in the volume. So as per the diagram, I have mapped, I mean in this volume I have created one sample.var, and this volume is mapped to this container, means whatever is available inside this volume should be available inside this container. Okay, for that mapping what I have did, I have used this parameter. I'm telling my Docker container to use this specific volume and colon map to this particular location.
But again, in underscore data, our file is there now, sir. So that path we did not mention in the command.
This is not required. Only we need to pass that deployment only. So this path is not required underscore data. It will automatically pick this path. This will be available in every volume. Okay. So now we have, I mean, we were able to create our container, volume has been mapped, everything is done, but still we are unable to access because there is some issue. We had made some mistake. So how to check that? Docker container logs, and then let me try to check the logs of my container. Server startup in milliseconds. Server has been started up, the container is up and running, but the deployment path is not right. So let me try to connect to my container and check the path. Okay, Docker container exec-it and then container id. /bash. Yeah. Okay. Here, if you see this path, this is user local tomcat. Okay. User local tomcat and web apps cd web apps pwd. Okay, so this is the path of the deployment in tomcat image. So now let me get out of this container. Now if I'll see the previous command, we can understand what mistake I have did. See, user local tomcat and then web apps. Where lib docker volumes deployment. User local tomcat web apps. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me again try to connect to the container. cd web apps ls. Okay, the file is available, but the file is available, I mean, if you'll see this pwd inside web apps, this underscore data file has been, I mean underscore data directory has also been copied. Okay, so what we have did is right, but as Aman said, we need to pass that path as well. So let me do one thing. Okay, so let me try to create one more container. This time the container IP will be, sorry, port number will be 8082, and then I will pass the path as well. Docker container run -itd -p 8082:8080 -v lib docker volumes deployment underscore data. Okay, :/user local tomcat /web apps. Okay, And then what we have need to pass the image name. So this time what I have did, I have mapped one more container to the same volume. Okay, so and this time this is running on port number 82. Now if I'll try to access my application on port number 82, see now the sample application is being provisioned. I haven't deployed this application inside my container, right? But still we are able to access our application because we have mapped our container. Whatever container we are creating, we have mapped with the volume, and whatever is available in the volume will be mapped to the container. Understood? Now if you want to check if this file is really available inside the container, then just check this container ID. Just copy this container ID, docker exec-it, and then container ID, then /bash. Bash is not working, so I will be using bin.bash. Okay, cd web apps llc sample.var. This is available inside the container. Means even if our container is killed for some reason, still we can find the volume. Okay, for example, let me create one file, but only related to this directory. Means whatever we have created inside web apps will only be available because that's how we have mapped. That's how we have mapped, right? So with our volume to which particular directory that should be mapped. Okay, so for example, I am creating one file inside container. Hit enter. Okay, what I have did, I have created one file called inside container. Okay, so if I'll exit out of this container and if I'll go to the volume, so currently I'm into volumes, and if I'll do llc, this file will be available outside the container as well. Means anything inside the web apps is being written will be stored in the volume which is available on the host machine. Okay, anything which is stored in the volume will be available inside the container in the web apps. Understood?
Yes.
So even if our container is not running, for example, docker container, yes. So for example, docker container stop. Let me stop this container. For example, our containers has been killed for some reasons. For some reasons, our containers has been stopped or killed. Okay, now if I'll do docker container ps, no containers are available, but still we'll have our data in our volume because this is persistent data. Means this will be stored permanently in our host machine. Whether the container is up and running or stopped or killed, the volume will be available. Now what I will do, I can create one new container and map this particular volume. Okay, so whatever data is available inside this volume will be attached to that container. Understood?
Bro, I have a doubt. Like
Yes.
Docker container PS is for the command used for a container list, no? So
Yes.
here you are telling the volume for this thing, right? Inside container sample.var and sample.
No, I have used LL. Currently,
Okay,
I'm in the
okay.
volumes location only. Okay, this is my volume
Okay.
location. Okay, so this command what I have exited is to show that no containers are running. Currently, I'm in volume.
Okay,
That's
okay.
the reason I have did LL and I'm showing that these files are available still.
Okay, got it, bro. Yeah.
Sagar, if we use instead of sample inside underscore container, it will show at Tomcat so
Mm,
as a blank page?
no, we don't have anything inside this file. Okay, that will not work. This will work only for Apache Tomcat. Sorry, Apache and Nginx. Okay.
Okay.
Now Docker container ps-a. ps-a, what we can see with the help of ps-a? We can see all the exited containers, means these containers has been exited and these are no longer in use for us. If you suppose you want to start this container again, then you can use Docker container start and then this id. We can start the container again. Okay, so for example, now assume that whenever we are doing such testings, right, so what will happen, there will be n number of containers which are being exited. For example, assume that we have 10 to 20 containers which are exited. It means that these containers are still occupying some space. Yes or no? These containers are still occupying some space in our machine. So now I want to delete all these containers. For example, to delete one container, what I can do? Which command we can use? I have already shown Docker container
RM.
and then container ID. Okay, for example, if you have 20 containers, then what you'll do? Will you execute this command again and again? No, right? So what we can do is we can use one command called prune. -f means forcefully. I am telling my machine to, my Docker to delete all the exited containers forcefully and hit enter. See, 11 KB has been reduced, claimed, and these are my containers ID. See, now if I do Docker container ps-a 0 containers. Okay, prune command is very important, guys. This will be asked in interviews. If you want to delete multiple exited containers at a single point of time, then use prune. Do not use RM. Okay.
Present containers also can we delete by using prune?
Present containers means
Exited, we just delete them.
running containers. If suppose Docker container ps, if you have any containers running, then you cannot delete that until and unless you stop that container. Okay, so if you want to delete any running container, first you need to stop that container and then only you can remove that container. This is also important question. This will be also asked in interview. Can we delete one running container? Yes, we can delete, but we need to stop that container before deleting. The status of the container should be stopped. For example, Docker container run -itd -p 8080:8080. Let me just run tomcat container. Sorry. One container is running Docker container ps. Okay. Now if you want to delete this container, Docker container rm, the status is running. See, error response from demo. You cannot remove a container. Okay, stop the container before attempting removal or force remove. Means you need to stop this container. So what I need to do? I can use Docker container stop and then container ID. Okay, now I can use Docker container rm and then container ID. Delete it. Okay.
Clear, bro.
And then we have Docker stats. Okay, let me just execute Docker stats. Okay, so here if you see, the moment I have executed Docker stats, we can see some messages like container ID, name, CPU, memory usage, limit, memory, network, block, PIDs. This is nothing but we can track the utilization of our containers, means which container is utilizing how much of memory and CPU. Okay, as of now we don't have any containers, right? So let me just try to create some containers. This is one container, and then I'm trying to create one more container based upon Nginx 8081. Okay, so we have created two containers now. We have created how many containers? If I do Docker container PS, we have two containers. One is Nginx and one is Tomcat. Now if I do Docker stats, then we can see this is the container ID, and this container is using 0.00 utilization, CPU utilization, and this container is using 0.32 CPU utilization. Okay, and the limit for this container is 7.74 GB, and the memory usage, network, block, and all other details. Okay, so this command will help us to get the utilizations of our containers, how which container is using how much of CPU and how much of memory. Okay, here if you see this, the limit is 7 GB, 7.74, approximately 8 GB, means that is my RAM capacity. If I'll do df-h, this will be my file system, right? Yeah, memory means file system, sorry. So if I'll do df-h, then we can see where is our, yeah, so this is my memory. Okay, so this is of 8 GB. So out of 8 GB, 3 MB has been used for this particular container. So now what I want to do is I want to specify the limit. I mean, I want to mention, I want to reserve my container that this container should not use more than 1 GB of limit or 500 MB of limit. We can also do that. Okay, means as of now there is 8 GB available in my machine, so it is trying to utilize all the 8 GB because I haven't kept any limit on my container. If you want to keep the limit, then we can use that command as well, which will help us to limit my container to specific usage only. Beyond 500 MB, then it will get deleted or stopped. If my container is, if I have limited my container to use only 500 MB and the container is trying to occupy more than 500 MB, then container will get stopped. That is how we can also manage our infrastructure. Means out of 8 GB, we can divide which container should use how much memory. That based upon application what we have deployed as well as the container which is trying to access. Okay, so how to do that? We have one parameter. Let us check. Container memory limit. Yeah, so we can pass this -f1 memory. Okay, now let me try to run this on port number 82 because already 8081 is occupied, right? So now what I have did, I have specified, I have set to Docker to create one container with the limit of 512 MB. Means beyond 512 MB, it cannot use my memory. If this is trying to use more than 512 MB, then this should get stopped. Okay. Now if I'll do Docker stats, just try to remember this ID 5B933. Okay. So if I'll do Docker stats 5B933, see this limit is been restricted to 512 MB only. Means out of 8 GB of my infrastructure, 512 MB is allocated to this container. It cannot use more than 512 MB. Why are we reserving this? Why are we limiting some containers?
In order to save the memory.
Yeah, save the memory, as well as there will be a lot of containers running. So I don't want some XYZ container to consume all my memory. Okay, what will happen if one container is trying to occupy the complete memory? Then the performance on the other containers will be very slow. The other containers will struggle to start. So that's the reason we try to always limit the memories. Okay, so this is how we can use, and Docker stats will help us to get the complete information of CPU utilization, memory usage, okay, the networks and the blocks. Okay, So this is all about Docker stats. Any questions? Balaji?
Clear.
ఏం చెప్తలేదండి ఎవరు? ఓకే. And then we'll check the Docker file. So this is very interesting, guys. Okay. So yesterday what we have seen? We have seen 3 different variations, right? So out of Docker file, one Docker image will get created, and from this Docker image, one Docker container will get created. Yes or no? So we have seen how to create container, delete container, stop containers, logs of container, how to connect to the container, everything we have seen. Docker images we have seen from where we can download the images, but how this image is getting created. Okay, so we can get that information, or we can use Dockerfile, which will help us to create our image. Okay, but before checking this, let me open one document. So we do have one document for this. Dockerfile is very important. This will be asked in interviews, as well as in interviews they will ask you to write one sample Dockerfile. Okay. And here we have some important questions related to Docker files. Without these questions, no one is going to close your interview. If someone has started asking on Docker, then for sure they will be asking these questions. Okay, so try, these questions are already available in the Q&A as well. So try to mug up these questions. Okay, so Docker file. So what is a Docker file? Docker file is nothing but a text file which contains a list of instructions that Docker needs to set up an image. Means based upon these instructions, Docker will try to create one image for us. And Docker file is used to build Docker images. Obvious, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
So Docker file is nothing but one text file with set of instructions. What needs to be done, how the image should get created. Okay, and here we have set of Dockerfile instructions. These are set of some Dockerfile instructions which are used to create Dockerfile, and these are very common instructions. We have around 12 to 15 instructions. That's it. If you are good with these instructions, then we are good with Docker files. Okay, and the first instruction is from where it should download the base image. For example, let me show you guys something. Okay, so Docker container ps, sorry, okay, so here we have 3 containers, right? So let me just try to connect to this nginx container, docker exec -it, and then my path and slash bash. Bash is not working, so I will be using bin bash. Okay, see, now this is working. So this image is related to nginx, right? Yes or no? And also in the output here we are able to see something called commands. Okay, but what is this command? I will talk about these commands in Dockerfile, I mean, as of now. Okay, so now cat etc. So what is the operating system for this particular file? Here if you see, this nginx image has been using the operating system Linux. Understood? There will be some base OS as well available. I mean, inside this nginx has been installed by using this base operating system. Means in order to create any image, you need to have one base image. If you want to create one tomcat by using some XYZ image, right, then we need to have that base image written in the Docker file. Okay, without base image we cannot create any files. Okay, so from module is used to download the base image. So what these guys has did, these guys have downloaded the base image Linux and installed their Nginx. If you want to see more details, then just go to Docker Hub. Nginx. Go to Nginx. Tags. Click on any tag. Okay. So click on any tag. So we have used latest, I guess, right? Yes. So I will click latest, and here we can see from dbm :12-. Can you see this?
Yes.
So this is nothing but the Dockerfile what these guys have used. Okay, here if you see this dbm gnu12 version 12. Okay, means from this image they have created our Dockerfile. Okay, and then what they have did here also we can see cmd add file copy. They have executed some xyz commands in this. See expose 80 means this image has been labeled to expose on port number 80, and this is cmd. This is to run at the runtime. Okay, so you can see these details as well. Okay, so let me again get back to this. If I'll go to overview, and if I'll scroll down in some images, see we might see this. So there's the basic Dockerfile. Okay, here they have given some Docker compose examples. So what is compose? We'll talk about compose at later. Okay, okay, so if you want to know all the details related to your image, right, so you can check this. Always try to read the overviews and go to the tags, search for the tag what you guys have downloaded, click on this, and you can find all the details. Okay, so now in our Dockerfile, first thing is we need to use the from module. From module will help us to know from which image you want to create this. What should be the base image? Okay, and then maintainer is nothing but, if you see this non-executable instruction used to indicate the author of Dockerfile. For example, if I am trying to create this author Dockerfile, then I will provide my name over here in the maintainer column. Why? This is just to specify that I am the author or I am the owner of this Dockerfile. This is not mandatory, guys. If you want to keep, you can keep. If you don't want to keep, you can delete. Okay, and then we have something called add command. Add command, what it will do? It will help us to copy the file from source to destination and extracts the file. Okay, means if you want to copy any file inside your image, then you can use add instruction or copy instruction. We do have copy instruction as well. Okay, copy file from Docker host to image. Okay, so we have two instructions. One is copy and one is add. Both can be used to copy the file from Docker host to Docker image. But what is the difference? We'll talk about difference. Okay, we'll talk about difference as well. Then we have something called CMDs. CMD means that's the command. The reason why we are able to see here command, right? So this is nothing but CMD. This part is nothing but our CMD only. Okay, so CMDs and entry points both are nothing but executables which will get created at the runtime of the container. Okay, similarly we have, if you want to pass any environmental variables, then you can use this env module. If you want to expose a specific port number, we can use expose module. If you don't want to download any dependencies, then you can use run module. If you want to create any users to your image, container or image, we can use user module. If you want to add any volumes, then you can use volume. If work directory, we can use to change the directory. Okay, on build, this will help us to trigger the instructions. Okay, so these are some set of instructions what we can use in our Docker file. Okay, so do not worry about that. It will be very easy. I will help you guys with that as well. Okay, So for now, just understand the difference. Okay, so what is the difference between add and copy? Copy module is just to copy a file from local to the image, means wherever we have installed our Docker to from that machine to image. Add is to copy the file from local to image, as well as we can download any file from internet. Means if you want to download any files from internet, then you can use add module, as well as if you want to extract any tar file, then we can use add module. Okay, and then we have run and cmd. What is the difference between run and cmd? Run will help us to execute any commands inside the Docker image. Okay, so what will happen? Run module will help us to download any dependencies in our image. Okay, and cmd will get executed at the runtime of the container. Okay, difference between cmd and entry point, this is also very important. Both are similar but not same, means both will get executed at the runtime of the container. Guys, remember this, both cmd and entry point, this is a mandatory question in every interview. cmd and entry points are executables. This will get executed at the runtime of the container. Then what's the difference? If both are same, then what's the difference? So cmds can be overridable. Okay, entry point cannot be overridable. We can have multiple cmds in our Docker file, but the last cmd will get executed. Okay, then we have some simple sample Docker file. Okay, so let me just copy this. Okay, let me try to create one Docker file. Or should this got stuck? Do not worry about Docker file. This is very easy. As of now, I have just given some explanation on the module. That's it. Okay, we haven't really started working on it. We will go with a very basic Docker image, Docker file. Okay. Also here, if you see the user for this image is root. Okay. So now ll, do we have anything over here? No, right? So we don't have any file. So let me just copy this and create one Docker file. The name should be Docker file, capital D only. The name should be capital D and then all the small letters. This is the standard name what we can provide to our Docker file. If you want to change the name, then you can change, but always make sure that you need to, when executing the commands, right, we need to make sure to pass the name each and every time. So instead of that, better go with the standard name only. Okay, this is one of the best practices to create the Docker file. Hit enter. Okay, and then let me just copy this from Ubuntu, run to execute this. Okay, and if you want to add any maintainer, and maintainer horizon. Okay, so here how many instructions we are passing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many instructions we are passing?
5.
Guys, I want everyone to answer this. How many instructions are we passing?
5.
5. So what is this first one?
From
Ubuntu.
Base
From
container.
Ubuntu. Yeah, from Ubuntu means it will come to Docker Hub. It will check for Ubuntu. Okay. And it will download this latest image of Ubuntu. So I can pass the tag as well, which image I want to use. Okay, what I will do? I'll use colon latest. Means this will be my base image. Then maintainer. This is some instruction just to mention the author name. Okay, so the author of this Docker file is take a horizon. Okay, and run module. What I have said, run module is used to download anything. I mean, if you want to install dependencies, do something, then we can use run module. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I want to download this image and then update my image.
Bro, sorry to interrupt. Run command is similar like Docker pull, right? Or any difference is there?
Docker pull is just to pull the images.
Yeah.
Run is to install any dependencies inside the image.
Okay.
Image lopala ఇన్స్టాల్ చేయాలంటే run module.
Okay.
Okay, Docker run, that Docker run is different, and then this run module is different, guys. Do not compare the previous commands. Okay.
Okay.
So now what we have run module, and then we have seen entry point and CMD. Means we can have multiple entry points and multiple CMDs. And entry point and CMD, where this will get executed, this will get executed at the runtime of the container. Means whenever I'm trying to create the image, right? So these three instructions will get executed. These two instructions will not get executed. These two instructions will get executed at the runtime of the container. Means when I'm trying to create one container, then only these commands will get executed. Understood? These three, out of these 5 instructions, 3 instructions will get executed when I'm trying to create one image. Okay. Entry point and CMDs are instructions which will get executed at the runtime of the container. Means whenever I'm trying to create one container. Okay. Let me show you that proof as well. So what I have did. Yes.
Module should be in capital letters.
Yeah. All the modules should be in capital letters only. Okay. All the instructions, whatever we are trying to pass, should be in capital letters. Okay. So this is my Dockerfile. The image with what it is trying to use is Ubuntu. So now if I do Docker images, do we have Ubuntu image here? No, right? So what will happen? It will first try to download this Ubuntu image and create one image for us. Okay. So for example, let me try to pull the Ubuntu image. Image already exists, it seems. Okay, so we do have this image already exist. Okay, so now if I'm trying to now I want to create one image out of this. Okay, so we have got one Docker file. I want to create. How to create this?
We have to give permission.
We have the command called docker build -t test:\v1 and then dot. So now in order to create one Docker image, we need to use a command called docker build. -t is nothing but the tag name. Means what name you want to give to your image. I want to give the name as test:\v1. Okay, and then dot represents the location of your Docker file. So currently my Docker file is located in the home directory, and I'm trying to execute the command in the home directory. That's the reason I'm passing as dot. If suppose your Docker file is in /opt, then you need to pass the path over here. Understood? That's the reason I'm using dot. Dot means it will check for the Docker file in the same location wherever I'm trying to execute my command. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, now let me try to hit enter and see what will happen. See, something is happening. Sending build context to Docker daemon. Okay, see, out of 5 steps, first step has been executed successfully. Okay, see, how many steps were there in our Docker file?
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So out of 5, step 1, Ubuntu image has been downloaded, and then the maintainer has been downloaded. I mean, it has provided the name. Okay, and then third name has been, the third instruction, run apt get update. See, this is nothing but the update one. This is trying to update my image. Okay, and then the fourth instruction, entry point. Fifth instruction, CMD. Okay, once done, then this is my final image. See, successfully built. This is my image ID, and this is the image name. Now if you will see Docker images, see, test image has been created. See, test:\v1 is the name, and this is nothing but my image ID. This has been created 45 seconds ago, and the size of this image is 121 MB. The official Ubuntu image, the base image what we have downloaded was 77 MB only. But since we have updated our image, the size has been changed to 121 MB. Understood? This is how we can create our Docker images. Guys, yes or no?
Bro,
Yes,
Docker
whenever
build command is used to convert the particular Docker file to Docker image, right?
Which one? Which one?
Docker build command.
Docker build command is used to create image from Dockerfile.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, guys.
Sabir, we are using Dockerfile to download the Ubuntu, right?
Yeah.
Instead of using Dockerfile, we can also directly download Docker pull and that Ubuntu. We can directly download from Docker, right? Container, create a container from Docker
Ye-
pull.
Yes, absolutely
Then
right.
why we are doing this Dockerfile? Why we are writing this Dockerfile?
Very
It's
valid
long.
question what Amir Khan has asked. Okay, so what he said is even we can use this Ubuntu image, and the only thing what I have updated is these commands, right? So we can also do that. Okay, we can also download this image, connect to the container, and execute the update and all the other commands, right? But the thing is, Amir Khan, so we need to customize our images. For example, if suppose the same image test.v1 and my requirement was to configure Tomcat, okay, or to download any dependencies related to my application, okay, so I cannot do this in this image. I mean, even I can do this, but what will happen is if suppose you want to for every environment you want to use the same image, then what will happen? each and every time each and every time you need to execute these commands. But if you have the Docker file, then we can create the
We can
image.
we can customize.
Yeah, so this will be very easy for us to rework again and again if we want to change anything. Okay, so what you said is also okay. I mean, we can also use in such way, but as of now our Docker file is very simple. What we have written is only 5 instructions, but if we are using for any application, then there might be a lot of dependencies what you want to add. Okay, there might be a lot of instructions what you want to pass, right? So that will be very difficult to log into the container each and every time and execute that commands. Instead of that, we'll create one Docker file. So what will happen is, see, once this has been created, right, now we have this ready-made image. I can use this image in any environment. No need to run any instructions because all the instructions has been already executed. No need to run anything. Okay.
can you show the module above the server? I just want to see what is there in run module.
I will show
Can you
you
scroll
that.
up?
I will show you that as well. Okay. So in run module, apt get update. We are trying to update our image. That's it. Okay. Now, if you want to get the more details about this image, right? So what we can do? We can use Docker inspect test colon v1. Hit enter. Okay. If I'll scroll up, see, this is the tag what I have given. Okay. This is the time when it has been created. Okay. Here see CMD. In CMD, what we have passed? We have passed the command as instruction as world, right? See in CMD. So everything will be captured in this inspect. Okay. And if I scroll down CMD, we have got work directory. See, work directory is empty because I haven't passed any work directory. Volume is also empty because I haven't used any volumes. Entry points, in entry point, what I have passed? Echo hello. Echo hello. Okay. And then on build instruction is not available because I haven't passed that instruction. Okay. Then author, see, take a horizon. Docker version, out of which Docker version this image has been created. Okay, the base operating system OS Linux AMD 64. Okay, the tag name. So these are the different details what we can find in our inspect. Means whatever we have passed in Docker file only. I mean, yesterday you guys have seen inspect, right? So you guys have executed inspect command for Jenkins and SonarQube. So these details are nothing but the details what we have passed in the Docker files. Understood now? Why the reason why we have used inspect. So inspect will help us to get the details. I mean, if you want to know which command is getting executed after creating of the container, then you can see the CMD and entry points. We can see them from inspect. If you don't want to check from the Docker Hub, then you can do inspect and check the details. These details are nothing but the details what we have passed from our Docker file only. Okay.
Sabir, just I have doubt. I mean, we are mentioning the entry point and CMD.
Yes.
So where we are getting deployed at, I mean, like when we launch our Ubuntu in the first page, it will...
let me show you that as well. Okay, so we have created 5 instructions. Out of that 5 instructions, I have said that these 3 instructions will be executed and these 2 instructions will be executed at the runtime of the container. Okay, so now let me try to start this container. Okay, Docker container run and then test colon v1, hit enter. See what happened. What's the output?
Yeah.
Hello world.
It's,
From where we have got
entry point
hello?
is
Hello
the...
we have got from entry point. CMD we have got world. Means entry point and CMDs are executables at the runtime of the container. Means whenever we run the container, then only we can the entry points and CMDs will get executed. Guys, understood? So whatever I have said, I have claimed everything.
Yes.
Okay. Yes or no?
Yes.
Now, for
It's only
example,
just...
now what even I have said that entry points CMD can be overridable, entry point cannot be overridable. So now let me try to prove this as well. Overridable means if you pass other argument. Okay. So for example, same command, I am passing my name over here. Okay. So this is nothing but my argument and hit enter. Hello Saber. Hello is same. This is from entry point. Saber is from CMD, means CMDs are overridable that can be changed based upon the parameters or arguments what we have passed. Okay, even we are claiming this, right? Understood? So entry points and CMDs are executables which will help us to execute the commands at the runtime of the container. We can have multiple CMDs. We can configure multiple CMDs, but the last CMD will get executed. Means if we have multiple CMDs, for example, see, instead of hello, what I will do is okay, I'm writing 2 CMDs. Okay, let me just save this. I'm writing 2 CMDs. So we can write multiple CMDs, but the last CMD will get executed. So this is what I'm telling, right? So let us test this as well. So now I want to build one new image because there are some changes in the Docker file, right? So I want to build one new image. Test colon v2. I'm creating the image from the tag called same test, but the tag will be version 2 and dot. What will happen? This time this is very fast. Why? Because here if you see using cache means this is using the previous data. Already we have executed for one time, right? Similar to our CDN CloudFront. Guys, someone go on mute. If you have any questions, then let me know or else go on mute. So cache is nothing but this will help us to increase our performance. I mean, this will try to collect the information from the cache data and perform faster. Okay, so now what I have did, see, I have executed one more instruction. Now if I'll do Docker images, then we can find one more image with the version called T2. Now if I'm trying to execute this, instead of V1, V2. See, hello DevOps. What happened now? Where is hello world? Earlier it was hello world, right? Now this is hello DevOps. Why?
Because it takes last time.
Because it has, I mean, as we said, if we can have multiple CMDs, but the last CMD will get executed. So whatever is in the last command, that will only get executed.
Bro, can we change the order of CMD and entry point in a
You can
Docker
change
file?
whatever you want. You can change whatever you want. You can
Okay.
write this run in the last. You can write the maintainer in the last. That depends upon how you want your image to be created. First, either overlay. Then prakaram we can write. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, understood, guys.
Yes.
Okay, so now Docker, yes. So here, if you see this image also, so always try to inspect this image. Or inspect Nginx. You will understand this now. Okay, so if I scroll up, see this is the tag, right? Yes or no? Agree or not agreed? Let me know. Okay. So this is the expose instruction. This is the environmental variables what they have configured. This is the CMD. I mean the command which is getting executed. Okay. And this is the entry point. Okay. I mean one script is getting executed. See, if you want to execute any scripts after creating, so this script is getting executed. Okay, see maintainers. This is the company which is maintaining this. I mean, basically that's from the Nginx official, right? So Nginx guys will be maintaining this. Okay, and the image IDs,
We have all the
labels. Okay, here also on build is not available. So not all the, it is not mandatory that we should use all the instructions. Now that depends. Whatever you want, you can create. Understood? So this is how the files are getting created. I mean the images. Now Docker images. Now what we have did, okay, we have created some image. Yes. ఎవరు అది మ్యూట్ లో అయినా పోడు ఎందుకు అట్లా లొల్లి పెడతారు if you have any questions then unmute, ask and then go on mute because I am able to hear a lot of disturbance from that audio. Okay, so now for example, let me not touch this for now. So we have created our images, right? So now I want to store this image in my Docker Hub registry. Means I want my image to be seen as this. I want to push my image to my Docker Hub. So what we can do? So first let me sign in. So all guys, you guys need to create the accounts in Docker Hub. This is my account. I do already have my account. Right? I don't remember the password. Okay, got it. Okay, so this is my account. Okay, here we have some repositories. I mean this repositories I have created in my previous trainings. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to push my image to this repository. Okay, for that first what we need to do, we need to create one repository similar to GitHub. What we used to do, if you want to store any code, you will create one repository, right? So let me create one repository. Repository name I will be writing as Techie Horizon 05. Okay, and then public or private, which one you want to create, that's up to you. Create. Okay, so we have created one repository. This is a public repository, and here we can see one command called docker push. Means if you want to push any images, then you can use the command called docker push. So what I will do, I will use this command docker push, and which image you want to push, for example test t1, test colon v1, and hit enter. So basically what will happen, it will ask us to provide the permissions, right? So where it needs to be pushed, there should be some address. So before that I need to use docker login command. Docker login command, what it will do, it will help me to log into my Docker Hub registry. Docker login, and then it is asking me to provide the username. My username is 0509, and then it is asking for the password. So I will be entering my password. So once done, then the login has been successfully done. Now if I use docker push test colon v1, see again failing. Why? Because there is no such repository. So we should remember one thing in Docker Hub. So always you need to create. So this is my repository name, right? So your image name should be with your repository name only. Means you cannot push the images with test v1 tomcat latest. No. Okay, so your image name should be always changed with the repository name sabe0509/sticky horizon 05. So this should be your image name. So how to change the image name? The tag whatever we are creating should be with the same name. So we can change the tag name by using this command docker tag test colon v1 and then pass this. Okay, so docker tag test colon v1 by 0509 and then take a horizon. I mean this is my repository name. So here sabe0509 is the username and this is my repository name. So we need to update our image name to this specific name. Okay, and then version. Now if I do docker images, now see one image has been created. Means out of test v1 I have just renamed one more image. Okay, so this name is related to my account. Now what I will do, docker push this image colon v1, hit enter. Now what will happen, it will already we have logged in, right? So it will check whether this repository is available or not. Yes, this repository is available, then that image will be pushed to my repository. And if I'll refresh this now, okay, here you can see this image v1 few seconds ago. Okay, if I'll click this, then we can find. Okay, see few seconds ago by sabe0509 the size has been compressed to 58 MB. Now if you guys want to download this image, then what you guys can do, you guys can use this ID and download docker pull and this image then. Okay, understood? So this is how we can store our images in the central repository. But before storing, we need to change the tag of that image. Means the image name should be related to your repository name. And how to change this? By using tag command, docker tag, and then the actual image name and the image name what you want to keep. And then you can change. Understood?
Anna, if you want to create multiple tags,
Create J. For example, same image you want to create for version 2, V2. Now, see, where is this? So tag does not exist. Version 2. Okay, so we can create different versions of images here. Guys, understood?
Yes.
Yes.
And then we have something called, okay, push images to AWS ECR. Means in AWS we have one service called Elastic Container Registry ECR. I will be not showing this. I want you guys to push your images in this ECR. This is also same process, guys. Pretty straightforward. Instead of Docker Hub, we can use ECR registry to store our Docker images. Okay, so I want you guys to do this. Okay, and then we have something called Docker scan. Okay, Docker scan. What is Docker scan? Here the thing is, whatever images we are trying to push to our central repository, right? So okay, we will do one thing. Okay, we'll do one thing. We are pending with Docker multi-stage Dockerfile, Docker scan, Docker save, and Docker networks. Okay, so these topic I will try to cover in tomorrow's session. Already we have taken more than one hour 30 minutes, right? So let me stop this with here, and then in tomorrow's session we'll try to explain you the Docker scan options, what is Docker save, Docker networks, and multi-stage Docker files. Okay. If you have any questions related to volume stats or Dockerfile, then let me know. And the use case, I mean, what was the use case why we have used Dockerfile? Also, we'll see in tomorrow's session only. Okay. I mean, in our environment, what we have did with the help of our Dockerfile. What was our Dockerfile? How it was looking? Have you created Dockerfile? Yes. What was the use case? To customize our own Tomcat image by using Alpine image. Okay, so that part we'll see in tomorrow's session. Guys, any questions?
No.
Okay.
About TCR, can we have to do AWS configure?
Yes. No, not configure. The same. I mean, you need to use Docker login and then the API of that repository. You need to explore, Raman. I mean, that is also very straightforward process. Once you create the repository, right? So you can see list of commands the way we used to see in GitHub. So you will see list of commands. Follow that command, then it will be easy for you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So let me stop this recording there. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.